the powers of speed. Early on in this race.
Coming towards crunch time in the championship for the Spec-5 World Tour. They are going to be racing in the dark at Road Atlanta in this MX5 League. David Haynes here with Devin Peters on HJBC as we just get a couple little things in line ready for this broadcast. Normal stuff for us today at Road Atlanta, Devon. 15 minutes of qualifying just kicking off before we get into a 45-minute race where slipstreaming, pack racing are going to be key, but so too will the fuel strategy.
Yeah, it's going to be noisy on this cold night in Georgia, and I think all the drivers are a little bit amped up. We've seen already in practice some pretty high importance to be placed on the draft there, like you said. And Road Atlanta, of course, historical track, going to provide us some good racing and the kind of racing that we love to see in these MX5s, Talladega style, nose to tail, lots of opportunities in the braking zones, all that stuff you love.
Yeah, absolutely. So the last two rounds have been won by Camden Hibbett, a combined margin of, I think, underneath 100th of a second. He's really just been on the lucky side of some very, very close finishes. Same thing could happen here again at Road Atlanta. You've got the opening part of the lap with some really difficult, undulating, high lateral G-loading corners like turn 1 going up over the hill, turn 3, and then the S's coming back down. You've got that long back straight into the braking zone for the chicane at 10A and 10B. And of course, also, you carry a lot of speed down the hill, under the bridge, through the final corner, and onto the pit straight as well. I've got live timing on HJBC.live for you today as well when we get into this racing. It is also, we should mention, Devon, a very, very cold night, like you said. It means that the opening laps are going to be super tricky, and so too these opening laps are qualifying that the drivers are just starting.
Yeah, already seeing in the background some drivers weaving around as we get things underway here. And I expect there's going to be a ton of weaving if you want the tires to be doing anything by the time they get around on the first lap. Pretty quick laps around here, all things considered, with the Miata. Relatively short circuit, 2.5 miles, 4 kilometers. Sorry for stealing that from you. I know you wanted to do the math. But yeah, it's a pretty quick lap even in these cars with no draft. So they got to work those tires in, and we're definitely seeing that from them. And it'll be, I think, honestly, a case where the tires just keep getting better all the way through. So I'm looking forward to an exciting finish to our qualifying session today.
Yeah, Road Atlanta, 2.52 miles long in comparison to the 2.25 of Mid-Ohio. So just a little bit longer than Mid-Ohio, but are definitely a little bit faster. We're looking at that qualifying at the moment. That sure looks like Camden Hibbett coming to the top end of the circuit there. The exit, so critical here onto the back straight.
Really nails it. And kind of been impressive, if we're honest. He's been really locked in this season, you know. If he's not winning, he's in the top 5, and with that, he's managed to secure himself the points championship already, from what I understand. So the rest of the pro class is racing for the podium, though the open class is still underway. Starting to see our first times coming in too. Ronnie Coates going to put down a 37.9. I expect we'll see that come down pretty substantially here. 37.6 from Soto, and we'll see what Camden does as he drives under the bridge this time coming down the hill.
Yeah, so Camden Hibbett's about to show us what his lap times look like out the final corner. Checkered flag comes up very, very quickly for where the timing line is, and immediately you're onto the next lap. He has not set one.
Yeah, he had an off track there, looked like. So killed it in the final sector. Lots of purple sectors gone, unfortunately for him, but I'm sure he'll be able to figure that one out. Early signs point to a strong open class field as Andy Kosick in that Mosman car puts a 38.6 on the board. Good for 4th place right now. And driving in the dark like this, you know, really kind of poses a bit of a different challenge. You know, everyone knows their way around Road Atlanta. You know, it's such a famous track, but just really nailing and really being detail oriented in the dark can be a real challenge. Hard to spot those things early, and can't use any of those references you might have off track, right?
Turn 3 is always blind over the crest, but now it's blind in the dark to make it doubly challenging. And yeah, some of those further away little references, like for example at Laguna Seca, people often say, you know, look for the trees beyond the corkscrew, and you know you're on the right line if you're lined up with the 3rd tree. Well, in the dark, that's way offline, way out in the distance outside of the catch fencing. Those sort of things in places like the S's and other places are harder to spot in the dark. Some of the just little reference markers are used to make sure you're on the right line, make sure you're turning in at the right time. Coimbra's gone to the top of qualifying at the moment, so he's completed 2 flying laps. He's on the 3rd of 4 right now. This does seem like the sort of track in cold temperatures on a short lap where the 4th flying lap of qualifying is probably where the magic is going to be. Camden Hibbett, though, goes to the top.
Yeah, 35.9. He's the first guy breaking into the 35s. So that's good enough. He bumps Roy Coimbra off the top step. Team down a team. Going to have to make up for it. Pretty impressive run there from Josh Olson, too. He takes 2 seconds out of our previous open class leader. And with a 36.7, puts himself inside the top 5. More to come, though.
it's entirely green sectors everywhere I look on the timing.
Yeah.
Everyone is still building temperature and confidence into their tyres, specifically for that opening part of the lap as well, but also right here as you break down the bottom of the hill. Josh Olsen trying to get that change of direction, trying to have confidence to open up the power out of that corner, knowing that you'll go flat out all the way down the hill, sweep through the final corner to the line. For Josh Olsen, this is his final lap of qualifying. He wants to make it count. A jump from 6th up just a little bit.
Yeah, shaves 0.3 off of it. That's a little bit of help, but still leaves the door open to some of our other open class competitors. Camden's coming through 10A and 10B now. We'll see if he's able to knock a little bit more off. He's chasing Josh Soto now, who's just come through with a 35.7, putting Hibbett down into second. A couple purple sectors, though, for him.
Yeah, Soto's last lap puts him to the top. Then Camden Hibbett comes across the line on his last lap and takes it away by another 10th there. 135.6 for Camden Hibbett. Most drivers look to have completed all their flying laps. Is that correct, or are we still waiting on one more?
Yeah, one more to go, and I think Roy Coimber's the furthest one around, and he's just put up a hot second sector, 26.40. He's looking to shave about 0.4 off of that 36 flat he ran last time through. So as he comes up the back straightaway here, we'll see if he's able to really nail it into the braking zone for 10 and put a challenge on the likes of Soto and Hibbett out front. No surprise that those two, Hibbett and Soto, Mazda, what is it? Mazda, you tell me the name of the series.
Is it Spec MX-5 Shootout?
There's so many specs in my life these days, I can hardly keep them straight. But the two of them, we'll say, qualified MX-5 drivers. Well, Roy Coimbra makes his case, though.
certified.
Yeah, Coimbra makes his case, 35.5 at the line.
Yep, times continue to improve across the qualifying session as they try to get temperature and heat into the tyres. They're not wearing out early. They're not peaking early. They are peaking late in this session. It means that the final lap counts. The precision is so important, and you can't afford to cut the corners or go off track if you're any of these drivers, because this is where the magic is. And for Camden Hibbett, I feel like he might have on the way into turn 10, because he's practicing the pit entry. Purple sector 2, purple sector 3, and he's got to throw it all away. He will not start on pole. Rui Coimbra is there for the moment. A few other drivers coming around on their laps here. David Staub's about to cross the line. Michael Coates is a couple corners away. Here is David Staub. Staub. David Staub crosses the line. He gets just a little bit of improvement at the end there to go into the 135s and be on the third row for what will be a 2-wide rolling start. I'm so sorry to have opened up that can of worms there and let Pandora out of that box. Michael Coates, though, struggling for the grip there in turn A and 10 and turn 10B.
Yeah, and that's his fourth qualifying lap that's gone pretty sideways, I would say. But he'll bring it around one more time and sort things out, I think, for an entry into that pit lane. Looks like we got about 3 cars left that are kind of running competitive times. Staub is one of them as he goes into what is turn 7? Yeah, 6 and 7 at the top of the hill. And comes onto the back straightaway there. Staub, foot to the floor. I gotta think that he's wishing he had another 8 cylinders there. Match his usual ride, right?
6 more. 6 more.
Yes. Dang, sorry. I don't keep up with my Lamborghini cylinder counts these days, Yeah,
the Super Trofeo car, I believe, is the same 5.2 liter V10 as the Audi and the road car. There's a couple of drivers still late on in this session. It's a 15-minute qualifying session. The drivers get 4 laps, so around the just 2.5 miles here. It's not like Road America. Some of the drivers who left pit lane early are done very early, but there's a few that are going late. Lee Martin is one of them, 17th outright, one of the stronger open class drivers that we've seen. And so he improves, and a couple of spots there as well, leapfrogging, I think, Orlando Herrell in class. And a few other drivers out there, like Ray Lombardi's just completed a lap for an improvement and has a couple more. Eugenio Polici, I think, has just jumped a whole chunk of spots. up now into 13th. He was right down the bottom. Charles Vaccaro is also out there qualifying. So I think the next 3.5 minutes, we'll definitely still see at least the middle and tail order of qualifying move around a little bit. No time for Vaccaro yet because this is his first qualifying lap. Will not get all 4 of them in, I don't think, but he'll get a couple.
Yeah, and I'm surprised to see so many guys on the sitting on the back. Oh, and that explains it. So Ian Giebler hasn't put in a qualifying lap, and that's because he's not entitled to. He's got a pit start after the last race. Looks like I don't have an explanation for Daniel Williams, Charles Vaccaro, and Zeus Dalston. And in fact, Charles Vaccaro is still out there lapping, trying to put in a clean lap. He's had 2 off tracks so far, pushing the limits a little bit. We'll see if this third time is the charm for him. Early indications are that it's not.
Vaccaro is going to cross the line here.
That is the charm. 38.3 for him. Takes him out of the bottom places. Gets him a spot on the grid in 19th place. Rocking that nice red and blue car. He's got those bronze numbers too. Of course, we love all the folks that are supporting this league and making sure that we have the chance to do this awesome broadcast, and that these Spec-5 drivers get this cool little league to show off their talents. Talented grid it is too today. What's count there?
29.90, like a.
Yeah.
I don't know. That sounds like should be a price for something.
Yeah, that's definitely a Price is Right kind of number. But yeah, nearly 3K field, and that's open and pro classes combined. Of course, the pointy end of the field's always a little higher, but very respectable top 7. I think the lowest one is 3,100, and creeping up from there.
So Vaccaro is still improving on this lap. I think this will be the last that he gets to complete because your pole is a 1:35 and there's now less than a minute 35 left in the session. So this is the last chance for Charles Vaccaro. Also going to be the last for Ray Lombardi, who's out there as well. Vaccaro sitting in 20th at the moment, and he's just chipped away at the time on this lap. You know that it takes a couple of laps for the tyres to come in conditions like these. So Vaccaro does need to find a little bit of time to move up another spot because there was almost half a second from him to the next car for position. And it looks like he has just missed out on that.
Yeah, Lombardi's coming around the last corner though, and he's looking like he's on a decent one. I'm not sure if it's going to be enough to knock it down. Yeah, it is 36.6 for him, and that's a lot more in line, I was going to say, with his practice efforts at 36.3 for him in the practice. So that adds up about with a little bit of draft help. But 36.6 only good enough for 14th place today.
Of course, on a small lap, less corners, you got to get every single one of them right to qualify up front. So it's always going to be closer, or at least feel closer on a small lap like this. 13 cars within 1 second of pole position. Rui Coimbra is that pole leader who'll be on the inside line for turn number 1 on the front row for the rolling start. Camden Hibbert will be on his outside. Row 2 will be Joshua Soto and Mitchell Peake. Row 3 will have Michael Chase and David Starve. Ronnie Coates and Odyssey Adams are row 4, and row 5 is Michael Coates and Geordie Fike. Like I say, it's still all within 1 second of pole here, where you find the open class pole sitter Josh Olsen with Andy Kosick there, Gino Polici 13th, then Ray Lombardi, Sean Hayes, Brett Marshall, Lee Martin, Brian Jabelski, Orlando Harrell, Charles Vaccaro, one of the last drivers with a qualifying time, just ahead of Tom Sanders, who had one. No qualifying times for Daniel Williams, Ian Giebler, or Zeus Dalston. Some of those for reasons you touched on earlier, Devin.
Yeah, still expecting to see Daniel Williams take the grid. By the sounds of things, he's a first-timer out here in the pro class assigned. So we'll see what he brings to the table. Always a bit of intimidation factor when you're joining a new grid, but judging by the healthy eye reading he brings along with him, he could be a factor. That might do something for his hard charger standing, starting in the back there. And then Zeus Dalston, the other Canadian in the field, Mitchell Peak, of course, qualifying fourth. He's got the honors of being the first Canadian in the field, and I could always get behind that. Where's your Australian bud?
I don't know.
Maybe he's going to walk down and just like knock on the door, ask him.
He might be on fire this week, unfortunately. Which is
okay, good excuse. I'll give you that.
So a Porsche pace car. Porsche North America are based in Atlanta, and they've got an experience center at the airport.
Huh?
The only time I want to experience Atlanta airport.
Man, I will save you the whole story, but I want to say that I ran 4 terminals in the span of about half an hour because I couldn't figure out how the train worked to make my next plane on the way to VIR. It was a hell of an ordeal for a guy from a little old rural town like me.
I did actually look up how many flights a day Regina, Saskatchewan airport gets, and the answer did surprise me how few it was.
Yeah, we used to be a popular destination, and then I think they stopped subsidizing all the empty flights that were coming our way, and they stopped coming. But anyways, this little cold spot on the prairies still gives me a good view for this race online in Atlanta.
See a lot of the drivers here on this formation lap trying to get any semblance of temperature, and Rui Coimbra, the pole sitter, he's pulled a little bit there just to give himself a bit of space to weave, and it's still not going to be enough. The first couple of laps of this race are going to be super dicey. There's places like through the S's where lap time is made by jumping over the curbs, but it's not something you want to do on cold tyres. It can be way too much of a risk. So that could happen early on in the race where you've got some drivers willing to take that risk, drivers behind them or drivers in front of them not willing to, as they still, warm up their tyres. It will be super touch and go early on. Someone should probably tell the pace car driver that turning the lights out just means the yellow bar on top. The headlights are still allowed to be on. That thing's disappearing into the dark, and we're most of the way around the formation lap already. Drivers got to start forming up, and to that point, they've got to stop weaving as well.
Yeah, I think whoever did the best job of getting those tires warmed up is going to have a real advantage going into turn number 1 today, judging on qualifying there.
Someone once said you've got to be careful making wishes in the dark because you can't be sure when they've hit their mark. And I think that's true of the racing here. You've got to be so precise. The darkness makes it difficult to be precise. You've got headlights in your mirrors, headlights everywhere. It's going to be difficult for 45 minutes of Spec-5 World Tour at Road Atlanta with a championship on the line. Rui Coimbra is the pole sitter on the inside. Camden Hibbett has nailed some wins so far this season. He starts in the precarious position around the outside of the first row. The green flag waves, they are so densely packed out of the final corner, coming down the pit straight towards turn 1. The inside lane looks like the place to be. Some moves happening 3 wide in the background there as well. Cold tyres for everyone. Coimbra is being a little bit cautious. Camden Hibbett around the outside. He goes nose in front to the race lead. Track swerves to the left before it drops over the crest at turn 3, and Camden Hibbett leads already. 2 wide behind him, going off the track, trying to pick exactly who that was. And Daniel Williams might get in trouble for that pit lane start.
That wasn't a pit lane start. This is his first race, and he's up 14 spots.
Well, he might. That start was a little something going on.
Oh, that was awesome. We got to get a replay on that. I think he took half the field before turn number 1. They were checking up, and he kept it clean and up the inside, and whew, that's impressive stuff. Look at him. He gets this run up the inside here, just sort of peeking on the inside of some cars that were driving, hanging back. And then as they go into one, it looks like we've left as they go into two though. Sorry, he jumps the inside of the curb, takes another one. Really impressive stuff, and he went from the background to the foreground real fast. 7th place overall.
Through the field. He's looking for a couple more. The field come down the back straight. Camden Hibbett still leading them. Joshua Soto moving up into second here. He's down the inside of Rui Coimbra, and it looks like he's through for second. So Coimbra from the pole back to third in the space of one lap. Mitchell Peake still in fourth, and Daniel Williams is there in fifth now. So yeah, okay, a bit of a running start, but then he made up a lot of other positions, picking the right line through the S's and onto the back straight on the opening lap. He runs in fifth, and he's looking for fourth. A couple of moves behind there as well, as Michael Coates lines up Ronnie Coates, because those two are always inseparable.
Dang, man. He is carving it up right now. Let's see if he can keep it up. We saw an impressive start from River Page last week. Not quite on this order of magnitude, but or a couple weeks back. But River, unfortunately, finished that race with an accident and a penalty, I think. Daniel, I got high hopes for this one. And he might make this race with Soto and Camden out front a little bit more interesting in a minute here.
So Michael Chase went wide across the curbing at turn 5. Again, one of the difficult spots on cold tyres there is that you're on the curbing on the entry, you take the curbing on the exit, and you have a big leap across the curb on the exit. That's cost him. He's just managed to settle back in, having lost a couple of spots there. Onto the back straight, and once again, Camden Hibbett leads, Joshua Soto, Mitchell Peake. Daniel Williams up into fourth at the moment within the slipstream of the leaders. Rui Coimbra from pole back to fifth. David Starb in position still in sixth. Ronnie Coates, Michael Coates, Michael Chase, and Odyssey Adams is 10th at the moment. Down into that braking zone at turn 10, all very, very single file up front at the moment.
Yeah, top 11 are just nose to tail with perhaps a little breakaway forming in our top 3, but definitely not a battle that's going to be solved anytime soon between the likes of Rui Coimbra in 4th and Jordy Fike in 11th.
Here's Mitchell Peake's view, not only his own headlights, but the car in front and the car in front of that. When you're leading, you've got less visibility than the cars behind you, as they can, see what their own headlights light up, but also what yours light up as well. It's coming under some pressure here from Daniel Williams through the S's. Turn 5 is one of those places where you can't really pass, but you can gain a lot of time on the exit here. Look at how much entry curb and exit curb Daniel Williams takes, and there's a few cars running wide in the background there as well.
Andy Kosick did it like Kosick did it like a 4-wheel drive out there.
Ronnie Coates lost time in a position of Michael Coates, who's now up into 7th. So that happened in the mid pack here.
Impressive racing up and down the field, it must be said, on these open laps. Pretty frantic, but very clean all the way around. Does look like we've had one car take an early stop. Ian Giebler, I think, picked up some damage in the early going and has taken a stop and some tires. But we'll see him later in the race.
Front now. Daniel Williams goes up into 3rd. Mitchell Peake kind of looks like he lets him have it. Joshua Soto goes past Camden Hibbett. So all change in the top 4 there, as Soto now leads them from Hibbett, Daniel Williams and Mitchell Peake. A little bit of space, a little bit of air between Peake in 4th and Rui Coimbra in 5th at the moment now. Maybe a chance of a bit of a breakaway here.
Yeah, I think these top 4 are kind of showing a pace all their own right now. Williams, after that shocking run through the field up here, and these 4 are guys that are clustered around the tops of our point standings too. So with the exception of Daniel Williams, of course, so not that surprising to see. And these Spec-5 races, they're frantic, but they're also a little bit strategic too. So making sure that you manage the pit stop well is going to be key. Peake gets it all sorts of wrong coming up the hill there, and Rui Coimbra is going to get a run on him, pass him on the outside if he wants to. I think Peake wants to have a little bit of a draft, is what I'm getting.
Yeah, so Coimbra back to that 4th as the exit of turn 5 continues to prove challenging to these cars. Sometimes you bounce over it and it spits you wide. Sometimes you bounce over it and it wants to spin you out. And I think it's a little unpredictable exactly what kind of a trip you're going to go on when you strike that large turn 5 curb. But there is time to be gained when you pull it off just right. Top 3 starting to pull away a little bit here. Soto, Hibbett, Williams down in the braking zone. All line astern, no movement happening there, and it's all about now the group 4th, 5th, 6th, this train of cars here, not letting the top 3 get away. Currently over 1.5 seconds between Williams in 3rd and Rui Coimbra leading this group here in 4th.
Action a little deeper in the open class. Andy Kosick is holding off Josh Olson behind him as those two battle for 1st and 2nd in the open class right now.
Charles Vaccaro a little bit off the back of them, as well as you've got Sean Hayes and Brett Marshall's pro class drivers just behind this.
Yeah, Sean Hayes actually gave Josh Olson a little tap going into turn number 1. Looks like the two of them managed to get it sorted out with nothing more than a scuff on the bumpers, though, so they'll carry on.
Vaccaro's maybe now looking for a little bit of a move, running 3rd in class at the moment with 2 pro class cars between himself and the lead battle in class, and he really did close up quite a bit here on Brett Marshall through a couple of these corners. There's that ride over the curb on the exit of turn 5 that we talked about.
Yeah, and it's it's one of those corners that tests test your cojones a little bit. It says, are you really sure you can hit the gas pedal all the way right now? Are you really sure? I love it. Moves up at the front. Daniel Williams side drafting aggressively off of Camden Hibbett as he tries to make the move from 3rd all the way up into 1st. He's going to have the run on Soto as well, and I think he's going to get his wish as he clears both of them and completes the run from last to 1st. 21 positions gained for Daniel Williams, and we are only 5 laps in.
Some big moves, showing a lot of pace, and he does go to the race lead ahead of Joshua Soto, ahead of Camden Hibbett. That gap between leading 3 and the next group staying about the same this time around. See what kind of pace that this group has now that Daniel Williams is to the lead of it. Is he comfortable of the braking markers, all of the turn-in points here in the dark when he's the lead car? I think this is sort of a condition and a time of day where it does matter who leads the groups.
I think it matters. I'm also kind of curious curious about a few things. One is that Williams has been in the chat asking about how much fuel he needs to take to finish this race. So he might not quite be so prepared for this race. At the same time, he's a 10-year iRacing vet. So I don't know what to make of this performance right now.
Well, we'll see if they'll let him lead. Joshua Soto closes up to his rear bumper, pulls out to the right-hand side of the track, which will be around the outside at the braking zone here. Camden Hibbett following the both of them. Looks like Joshua Soto's gotten clear and back into the lead of the race as they then dive downhill into the braking zone. Rui Coimbra has had a really good lap, and he's started to close them some as well. So it could all light up once again with the leaders here. Soto from Williams, from Hibbett, and then this lap has been special from Rui Coimbra. You can see him pulling away from Mitchell Peak and pulling towards the leaders.
Whew, and that's a quick one.
He takes the fastest lap of the race with that one, Rui Coimbra, 134.8. Significantly quicker than what the pole time was. Let's put that out there as well. It has taken this long, I think, for the tyres to start to grip up. They've completed 6, starting lap 7, and the tyres are now just getting good.
Hey, that bodes well for the race, though, and yeah, I'm curious to see. I mean, we wouldn't usually expect to see tires in these cold races, as we've kind of learned this season, but with how hard they're pushing at the front, I wonder if it'll be a factor. It is really a sprint race out there at the front right now.
Off the road, 1st, 4th, a couple of other cars there, trying to make sure they get the perfect run onto the long back straight here. Joshua Soto leading them, but leading them a little bit wide, and Rui Coimbra trying to make sure he goes with them.
Oh, a little bit of action deep in the field. 16th, 17th. That's Brett Marshall and Charles Vaccaro coming together. That was third place in the open class, getting spun, and a little bit more contact as the two of them were exiting too. I think Vaccaro's running his normal line, and Brett Marshall kind of gets it a little wrong on the entry into 6, and you'll see it here. They churn in, they're side by side, and then when Vaccaro's running out the exit, they overlap, and then Vaccaro just tags him, sends the two of them spinning.
Yeah, so Brett Marshall's got it wrong, sliding, and then he gets helped all the way around, and it tags Vaccaro into it as well. Starting lap 8 here with Williams now back to the lead. Camden Hibbett back into second. Joshua Soto going backwards to third, still just ahead of Rui Coimbra, who's brought that next group of cars up with him. Mitchell Peake, Michael Coates, Ronnie Coates, David Starb, and Michael Chase.
So
someone goes wide over that curb. I think it was Chase again.
To say the other thing I have to note about Daniel Williams as I do a little bit of research on this guy is I'm counting Daniel Williams 1, 2, 3, all the way up to, I think I've got a 32 here on the iRacing member list. So this is a guy who's got a lot of experience.
So do you know which Daniel Williams number he is?
I'm trying to figure it out right now. I'll get back to you on that.
Okay. Well, he leads briefly for the moment. Soto down the inside for second place on Camden Hibbett going back to third. Daniel Williams still leads as Soto only got all the way up to second place with that move.
Yeah, the battling at the front's kind of let the back half of the top 10 get a little bit back into it, though. With Rui Coimbra making that big run, all of a sudden you got Michael Coates just behind, Ronnie Coates lurking in the background, some of our regulars, and you know what? Even David Staub's getting in the action, and he's good for a top 10 finish usually, but we haven't seen him running right at the front of the field so far this year. But there he is, 3 seconds back from the lead.
All of them running up and down the S's, and here's the open class battle. Still Andy Kosick leading Josh Olsen. Remember, it was Charles Vaccaro who was maybe closing in on them a little bit before he got spun around, however you look at it. So now third in class is Lee Martin, Zeus Dalston fourth in class there at the moment. But obviously Kosick and Olsen very, very close at the moment. Sean Hayes just behind.
Looks like we've got Daniel Williams 4 tonight. In case you want to do some research of your own out in the fans there. 899 race starts, 158 wins in his road career, and racing some F3 most recently. Anyways, that's our mystery man. We'll see if he wins it tonight, and then maybe we can interrogate him in the podium a bit. Soto's looking to interrogate the rear bumper as he taps him down the front straightaway.
Yep, and a lot of them give just a little kiss to that apex curb in turn number 1 as they then get the car back across to the other side of the road. And here's the turn 3. We're kind of seeing it from about the driver's eye height here. You got nothing until you're already turned in, and you go, am I going to be a bit wide leaving some on the table, or am I about to cut this and maybe get an incident point or get a penalty? There's a couple of things here. Same over the top of the crest here. Where's the track? Oh, there it is.
Bit of action in the open class, 13 and 14th overall. Josh Olsen got a big run out of turn number 3. Andy Kosick kind of got it wrong in the braking zone under a little bit of pressure, but I think Kosick's really been kind of nailing the uphill turn there at turn number 5 after the S's, and that's where he's been able to hold his lead before they do the double right-handers here up the back straight. Sean Hayes just lurking right behind him too, must be said. He definitely has a chance to be a factor in that race for the front of the open class.
Isn't it great? There's like 3 corners in the S's that they only count as 1, and then they exit turn 7 onto the back straight and arrive at turn 10. So somehow we catch up those 2. Somewhere is kinks on this back straight. Forever not making sense how North American road courses do their corner numbers. But there has been a change up the front for the lead here. They're side by side down the pit straight. Looks like Daniel Williams has just held on to that lead, but Hibbett and Soto swap once again.
Yeah, Hibbett makes a tight move, squeezing his way into that sandwich at the front. Mitchell Peak making eyes at that position held by the green car, Michael Coates, in 5th there for a moment, but discretion kicks in and they carry on. Seeing how the top 5, top 6 have raced throughout this whole season, I gotta think that Pete. Coates got really wide there. And yeah, he backs off a little bit, loses some momentum. Peak is happy though, I think, sitting in the draft. That's kind of been his strategy so far this year. Try and save some fuel.
Crunch moment for Ronnie Coates and David Starb there in 7th and 8th at the moment as well. As you can see, they're just within the slipstream of where Michael Coates is at.
Yeah, they're fighting for everything they're worth to try and stay in it. And when the leaders are fuel saving, that always helps. They're not all fuel saving though. Camden Hibbett gives the bump, and Josh Soto takes the dive, going up the inside of Daniel Williams into 10A here. And last of the late breakers, Soto's going to have him at the apex and clear him as they head up the hill.
Williams is clearly looking for the over-under and the cutback, and he ends up right at Joshua Soto's bumper over the crest underneath the bridge, leading back down the hill and onto the pit straight. Soto holds on to that lead, and now Williams will look to the inside of turn number 1, carry the speed in the overlap, and Soto just lets him go and get hot in towards turn number 1, and Soto will drop back into 2nd.
Clear in lap 12 here, and thinking that actually our racing at the front here is kind of interesting too, because the fuel window is probably open if these guys wanted to stop. So I'm kind of surprised that none of them have decided that clear air is worth it just yet, with how hard the front end is racing. But then again, we haven't seen a lot of pitting further back, so there might not be any holes for them to drop into.
Another great look at everyone's lines on the exit of turn number 5, some ending up a little wider than others, but you've got that confidence to leap across the curbs a little more. Not that far, that's too far, Rui Coimbra. And he's going to lose out a little bit. So Mitchell Peak is going to get followed by Michael Coates, and the 2 of them are going to go around Rui Coimbra. A little bit of a bump draft happens there. You can just tell there's 2 MX-5s.
Just about. You know those like pictures where there's like 16 dudes in a ghillie suit sitting in a field, and they're like, find the guy. I feel like you could do that down the back straight of Road Atlanta in a Spec-5 race, and have a hard time finding more than one when the top 10's coming at you.
So a lap ago, Williams thought, I'll go down the inside of turn 1 for the lead. Joshua Soto ends up in the same position and doesn't take it. It speaks to a difference in their mindset of how they approach this race and the pack racing before the pit stops. I say before the pit stops for these leaders, because Michael Chase has made a rather interesting strategic decision. All on his lonesome, he's going down the pit lane. Doesn't look to be any damage. I think this is pure strategy.
Yep, pure strategy and purely fuel by the looks of things.
Ooh. I am so surprised to see that, honestly, with how cold it is.
I did see some drivers saying that a left rear makes the car handle a little better around here. So to me, that seems bonkers. But I wonder if that's what we're going to see here. If Michael goes and starts putting some speedy laps down, we might have to do some investigative work to find out what happened there.
For at least a lap, though, that thing's going to handle like a damaged shopping cart with one lazy wheel. It's going to turn one way way easier than the other. This is the lead, a little bit going on, so I wonder if that means they're going to react to the pit stop from Michael Chase. Joshua Soto goes plain around the outside and easily into the lead of the race ahead of Daniel Williams. It's 8 cars running up front. pit entries to the right, and no, none of them want it.
They threaten at it every time, though, right? As you're coming under that bridge, it's really hard to tell if the guy ahead is gonna dive in. And they keep on separating. We're now at how many seconds would you say that is? That's maybe 3 seconds separating 10th from 5 seconds separating 10th from 12th. 7 maybe. They're starting to form a little bit of a gap anyway to that second pack. Wonder if that's enough to convince them to pit.
Yeah, it is a couple of groups. Leaders, and then Odyssey Adams and Geordie Fike, and then Sean Hayes, Andy Kosick, Josh Olsen, the open class battle. This looks like Williams is going to try to go around the outside after turn 5, and he does. It's back to the lead once again. They're trading the lead very often at the moment.
Don't have to worry about fuel saving if you're battling the whole time. And still a top 8 kind of hanging around. Ronnie Coates hanging way off the back. David Staub too. Looking like the stragglers in the first 250 laps of a Talladega race.
Side by side for the race lead. Once again, Daniel Williams has held it for 2 laps, and that's too many for Joshua Soto as he goes down the inside. Chicane, the S's here at 10A, 10B. Just now approaching the halfway point of the race now.
It's just, I'm really impressed by the racing we're seeing out there today. Like it's aggressive and it's very respectful so far. And they are not leaving a lot of margin, but at the same time, I haven't felt like anyone's been in a lot of danger. Another car on the pit lane. We got Geordie Fike this time by. Looks like this just a scheduled stop as well. No damage in his recent past.
So, turn 5. The cars just keep bouncing after they ride that curb. It is a very big ride for them, but the fastest way is out there to carry as much speed as possible through turn 5 and on the straight that connects here to turns 6 and 7. 7, one of the tighter corners on the track. Very much sort of a 90-degree right-hander there.
Camden nearly leaning on Daniel on the way out of that corner. You could hardly put a piece of paper between them. The cars are all loaded up at that point. Makes Guy nervous. Too wide now. Williams takes that run and turns it into a pass. I got to think here. Camden's got a big run. 2 tires on the grass. He was thinking about making it 3 wide, but Williams didn't leave the door open. That's first to third in a braking zone. And we'll see. Williams now has the lead and the choice. Is he going to be the one to take the pits? Camden is.
Looks like Mitchell Peake and Michael Coates follow him. I've just been looking at the lap times and the pace for Michael Chase, who obviously pitted early and we saw go up on the jacks, and those lap times are Yelch. I think he's missing about 1.5 seconds per lap. His first flying lap, he's losing time. His second flying lap, he's losing time. I wonder if we'll see anyone else do the same. So it's Hibbett, Peake, Coates. Eugenio Polici's also going to pit in. And as we watch them, it seems like the tyre warm-up on new tyres, even on one, is very nasty. That's an overshoot. That's a double overshoot for Camden Hibbett. This is a very rough pit stop, but it is going to be fuel only from these guys.
Oh, that iRacing judge is a little tougher on you about where you stop than probably your real average MX-5 race is. Of course, no stops in those races unless things are going real wrong. So maybe Camden needs to practice those ones a little bit.
And you can see he's lost out big time because he was the first car to point the nose towards pit lane, and he's going to be the last one out from that leading group of drivers. 20 minutes left on the clock for Spec-5 World Tour at Road Atlanta. Daniel Williams leading from Joshua Soto, Rui Coimbra, Ronnie Coates. So you've seen a couple of cars from that leading pack make some pit stops. The ones we've just seen took fuel only and no tyres. Michael Chase, though, he has just lost bucket loads of time since we saw that car go up on the jacks and take at minimum 1 new tyre. He's nowhere to be found.
Ooh, little moment there for David Staub, who was running 8th. He kind of got it wrong going into 10A, just drove it a little deep. And we're seeing some action from the front of the field as well as Staub takes the pits. Oh, I think he's the only one taking the pits this time. Sorry.
Okay, and it's also, I think, Mitchell Peak's lap times that I needed to have a look at that haven't been quite so sharp since the pit stop as well. So it looks like fuel only, definitely the way to go, because in these super, super cold conditions, about as cold as it can possibly get, tyre warm-up is a nightmare. So Sean Hayes, Josh Olsen also hit the pit lane. That splits some of the lead battling there as Lee Martin and Andy Cosick stay out and Josh Olsen opts to pit a little earlier than those guys.
Ooh. So Michael Coates came out and he was actually leading the whole group there. But Coates had to deal with a little bit of traffic in the form of Orlando Harrell. And I'm not sure that's paid off for him. Did have a quick stop, though, relative to what we've seen from most of the field that's come in so far. So maybe able to save a little bit more than most of the rest.
Still about half of the field yet to stop. HJBC.live has the live timing with the pit stop times and all that stuff. Lap times, all the goodness. This is the leading three that haven't stopped. Daniel Williams, Joshua Soto, Rui Coimbra. Ronnie Coates still just on the tail of them. So going to get towards pit entry this time. Definitely seeing Daniel Williams going. Joshua Soto following him. Rui Coimbra staying out. So Daniel Williams from the lead of the race to the pit lane. Very, very hot pit entry. But if he gets a good stop... No, he's got a black flag. Unsafe or speeding on pit entry to Daniel Williams from the lead of the race. This is going to be a long and painful stop. Probably going to drop him out of the top 10. It almost looked like he's going to drop out of the whole damn race. But Joshua Soto has a chance to take the race lead here. Daniel Williams from 0 to hero, potentially to 0 again with that pit entry blunder.
We'll have to see. I mean, he drove through the field once. But it's hard to come back from one of those, especially in a series as competitive as this one. Odyssey Adams has a little overshoot in the background there as Josh Soto trundles away from the pit lane. Trundle's probably a little bit hurtful to the reputation of the motor in the Mazda Miata, but Soto's exiting the pit lane. He's exiting it with less momentum, but a little bit of time over the likes of Michael Coates, and he'll hold on to first overall with pit stops factored in, I think, after that.
45 miles an hour pit lane speed limit is a trundle for Devin Peters. So it's Rui Coimbra, Andy Cosick, Ray Lombardi that haven't stopped yet. Joshua Soto, like you point out, net race leader here as he comes out of the pit lane just ahead of Michael Coates. It could come down to these two because they got 3 seconds in hand, I think, over Camden Hibbett after his mistake on pit lane, overshooting the pit box.
Daniel Williams was still sitting in the pit lane serving that penalty and has just disconnected from the race. So good showing from him. Hopefully we'll see him back next week, maybe next season, to put a little pressure on these guys. But the ballad of Daniel Williams ends like many a fast driver before him in this Spec-5 World Series, as he is going to DNF. A couple other leaders on the pit lane. That's Ronnie Coates taking an intriguing line into his pit stall there. Was trying to find his way around Rui Coimbra, I think. And Coimbra qualifies first. He's got that first pit box, and he's sitting on the jacks while the fuel is going in, revving the heck out of it.
And he's pointed to the exit as well, ready to go in a second. Bogs down a little bit from the stationary start, and he gets passed around the outside on the pit exit. Here comes that other group of guys. This is for the race lead now, and swooping around the outside at speed. Joshua Soto goes to the lead. Michael Coates comes through. Ronnie Coates now sitting in third place ahead of Rui Coimbra. Really critical little pit exit there from Ronnie Coates. The quickest way to get away from a standing start or from your pit box in this car with a very tall first gear is you've got to slip the clutch, and I'm not sure Rui Coimbra did.
Yeah, it's a tricky little thing to do in this car. Also, did you see who's running in 6th place there? Yeah, in 6th place. 2 reversals notwithstanding, Camden Hibbett is back into 6th place. So he'll have to make up some ground. But at the end of it all, it was only track position that he lost, not the race.
He can still see the leader just out front of him, heading down the back straight here. It is Joshua Soto, Michael Coates, and then this group Ronnie Coates recoiled with Mitchell Peake. There's Camden Hibbett, 6th, just up towards Mitchell Peake's bumper for 5th. And he maybe thought about pushing him, but then ends up looking around the outside to the inside of the chicane here. And he gets up to 5th now. Another position gained from Camden Hibbett to 5th. Now only 2 seconds away from the race lead.
We're going to have a little test here. I think a little pace test, because Michael Coates and Josh Soto are hooked up and trying to drive away from this group. And right now they've got a 1.5 seconds on Ronnie Coates, which I think is just about enough to break the draft, especially if the two of them are working together that close. Critical moments here as Camden Hibbett fights to try and clear everyone, and he's dragging Mitchell Peake with him.
First and second trying to work together to get away from the group. Ronnie Coates in third's got the job to try to not let them get away. There's dramas elsewhere between Jordi Fike and Eugenio Polici in turns 10A and 10B, I think. Maybe it was Ray Lombardi. It was someone back there.
Fike and I'm just getting it here.
Definitely Polici.
Eugenio Polici. And Polici turns in. Fike's a little deep on the braking and turns him. And the two of them end up stopped. And I think Fike does the honorable thing, backs up and gives Polici some room while he gets underway, but it's cost the two of them about 10 seconds.
So some contact in the big braking zone into the chicane there, elsewhere in the field. There is a mega pack for 11th right now. Like, it's insane. I think it's got your open class battle in there as well. So Josh Olsen ahead of Andy Kosick, Lee Martin, Zeus Darlston, all 4 of the drivers battling for the open class win in this same pack here now that we've had the pit stops and 12 minutes to go.
Yeah, 12 minutes, and it looks like it came down to the pit lane. Josh Olsen just a couple seconds faster, and that was enough to give him the track position. So Kosick, after leading the entire first half of the race, he's going to have to overtake a real quick driver in Josh Olsen to get that first open class win that he's been fighting for this whole season.
So what we saw between Polici and Fike cost him a bit of time, dropped them back towards this group, and has made a mega pack here in the midfield. It does sound like something political.
Yeah, either that or some sort of new NASCAR.
Maybe I'm thinking of a super PAC, but Sean Hayes maybe had a little bit of a problem there, so he's going to drop back through this field. Olsen and Kosick go ahead, and it now puts Hayes and Jabelski between first and second in open class, and Lee Martin, who is third in that class at the moment. 8 laps to go, and there are battles everywhere through the field here at Road Atlanta, from the leaders here, Joshua Soto and Michael Coates, to Ronnie Coates and Camden Hibbett, 3rd and 4th, then all the way through to 19th outright. It is non-stop action all the way through the field, and up front it's such a crucial 0.98 of a second between Michael Coates in second, Ronnie Coates in third, for whether it's a 2-horse or a 4-horse fight for the win towards the end here. And here comes Camden Hibbett for third.
Yeah, making a move up the inside here into 10A, and he breaks way deeper than Ronnie Coates. I think Coates decided that losing time was the bigger concern, because he let Camden through pretty easily there, and they're having to work hard, but they're slowly chipping away at that lead. Last time by it was 1.5. This time by, I think it's going to be under a second between the top 2 and the next 2 in that top 4. I don't think that Soto and Coates are going to get the breakaway that they hoped for. This is like Tour de France level of strategy going on here, though. When's the breakaway? Who do I go with? Who's my drafting partner? All that. This is good stuff. Coates gets a little wrong through turn number 3 and loses some time to Camden Hibbett. He'll have to make it up here. Luckily,
how much turn do you want, Camden Hibbett? At the apex at turn 5, almost all 4 tyres in the air, trying to make sure he gets second place to stay in touch with first place. 10 minutes left to go, and that needing to find reverse gear on the pit lane will be but a distant memory for him, as he's now underneath 1 second from the race lead, and definitely time lapse, an opportunity to fight for the win, to make 3 in a row and basically seal up that Spec-5 World Tour Championship that he's been fighting season after season for. It's been his goal for a little while now, and I think a win here today would do it.
Yeah, I think he's showing the resilience that has allowed him to have the finishes, the string of finishes that he's had so far this year. You know, He's leading the points. He's got it locked up after the drops, but he's not leading the overall points. And I think that he'd like to change that with a win tonight and a few wins to close out the season. The no drop points, I mean, when I'm talking about overall. Good draft here. He's right up into it, underneath the bumper of
clearly
Coates.
Rolled out on the way into one, and I think Coates might be struggling on the fuel here. Remember, he had the shortest stop of anyone, gained him a big bunch of track position, got him towards Josh Soto, but I think he's now entered a fuel conservation mode. You see a couple more car lengths between himself and Soto. Coates not at all interested in trying to pass Joshua Soto for the lead. He might be in just a tiny little bit of trouble.
Yeah, it's curious to know. Coates and Soto have collaborated a little
the open
bit.
class lead here. Andy Cossack was running second. He gets it wrong through 10A and 10B, and he's dropped back to third in class because I think you'll see Lee Martin get past him, or Lee Martin might have already been in front of him. So he just lost a little bit of time, a couple of positions in this mid-pack that's kicking off here at the moment.
Yeah, as he was taking a left into 10A, he kind of drifted the thing a little bit wide. Oh, just ahead of them, though, they're too wide through the S's. That doesn't work. Ray Lombardi tried to make a move on Brian Schabelsky, and it got all kinds of spicy. That's going to back those two up a little bit, but Cossack's still losing time as Zeus Dalston's now coming by around him from first to fourth or second to fourth in just a matter of a few corners. Cossack's going to have to work hard if he wants to have a shot at that podium. I think it's fading away with 7 minutes to go.
Yeah, Dalston gets past, and then Tom Sanders is behind now for position. At the lead, Camden Hibbert has gotten past Michael Coates. I think that I'm more confident by the lap, by the corner on my assessment on the fuel strategy for Michael Coates. So it's now a straight fight potentially between Joshua Soto and Camden Hibbert. And he's not afraid of getting a little bit of air across any of these curbs. At turn 3 there, gets 2 or 3 tyres up in the air. He's approaching turn 5. We'll see how much apex curb he wants to take here. So he's lots of curb, turn in over the curb, get a little bit of air. And then it's a little nicer on the exit than maybe some others have done. But he's right in the place to challenge the leader, Joshua Soto, right in his wheel tracks here. Time ticking down, I think 5 laps to go. We'll have another check when they get to the line, but it's kind of, again, in one of these cases where it's sort of touch and go, how many laps do we get in the time?
Interesting.
And if the pace is up and we get one more, there's some drivers like Soto, like Coates with quick stops who might end up in trouble. Camden Hibbert leads. Soto let him have it so early.
He tapped the brakes on the exit of 9. Makes you wonder how the fuel's going for Soto there, or if he'd rather be in second place as we come down to 4 or 5 minutes to go.
Yellow and green machine of Michael Coates. That's going for like a 500-foot lift and coast, or as I learned last weekend, Lyco.
Yeah, something like that. Mitchell Peak's running it out super wide behind him, trying to regain contact too. I have a question for you, F1 rules question. If all 4 of the tires are off the track, but 2 of the tires are in the air, is it still an off track? Not in Spec-5 at least. And Camden Hibbert's been showing us that line through the S's.
So Camden Hibbert leading Soto, Ronnie Coates, Michael Coates. My numbers on some of the pit stops have gone a little messed up by the reversing on pit lane that was done by Camden Hibbert. Now, HJBC.live says 20.6 seconds in the box compared to 20 for Soto, 20 for Coates, 19 for Michael Coates, making him one of the shorter numbers there. So Hibbert looks like he took a little bit more than second and third.
Yeah. It's hard to tell. And it's such fine margins. Like, you wouldn't think that an extra half second or second of fuel would make that much of a difference. Either way, Soto's still camping out behind him. We got 3 laps to go, presumably at the line this time. And Soto's sitting in second place feeling good about himself. Ronnie Coates now lurking in behind. And how many times have we seen this? Ronnie Coates sneaking up to the back of the pack with 3 laps to go. And he's got devious things on his mind, I gotta think.
Yeah, absolutely. He's positioned himself very, very well at exactly the right time in the race. What's Hibbett doing now?
Defense.
No, extreme to the inside, and I think he rolls out. He wants Joshua Soto to lead, and he made a big movement, maybe even tapped the brake, forcing Joshua Soto to go to the lead. There is games on games happening right now, and in a couple laps' time, we'll see how close this is to that extra lap. I think they're so close, and some of them are really worried on their fuel here. It's always the strategy to try to cut it fine in the pit stop, try to save as much as you can in the opening phase of the race. I think a few of them have been left needing to make some savings in the back half of the financial year.
Something like that. Michael Coates is loving it, though. He's right back up on the back of him and nursing the throttle as he exits 5 there. And if they...
Rui Coimbra have got some pace compared to the leaders now. And we've seen this games from Soto, games from Hibbett. They don't want to lead. We've seen how much fuel Michael Coates has had to save, and he's back on the leaders as well. So here comes Peak. Here comes Coimbra to make it a 6-way fight. My oh my, it's getting spicy. I think 2 laps to go is the call when they get to the start-finish line side by side once again for the race lead. Camden Hibbett past Joshua Soto, who has a big lift. Ronnie Coates has a run now as well. He's got the most speed of anyone. He changes lane from one side to the other. Is this my exit? I'm going for the race lead with 3 minutes to go. Ronnie Coates down the inside of turn 10A and turn 10B. Side by side still on the exit. You love to see this if you're Mitchell Peak or Rui Coimbra in the dark underneath the bridge, heading towards the timing line. Or they are going to get forced around an extra lap here potentially with 2 minutes 43 on the clock, doing lap times in the 135s. We're still side by side heading towards turn number 1. Ronnie Coates around the outside. Camden Hibbett down the inside takes the race lead. Joshua Soto is within touching distance of the bumpers as well. There's no room for anyone to make a move as we're 2 wide, 3 lanes deep through turn 3, blind over the crest, through the S's. Michael Coates is trying to hold on for dear life, but Mitchell Peak's now up into 4th.
Yeah, and Peak showing that Canadian courtesy as he was the 5th guy in line and only took one of them, despite the fact that all of them were about 15 miles an hour off of what you'd expect at that point on the track with how much lifting's going on. I wonder how many of these guys are going to be in trouble if we go this extra lap. It's really, really close right now.
It's certainly not a matter of what does your best lap time look like. It's what does your lap time look like when you're hitting that remaining fuel number. Where do you want to position yourself in the pack for the next couple of laps? It's underneath 2 seconds for our top 6. Ronnie Coates doesn't look like he's shy of keeping the throttle all the way to the floor. Camden Hibbett and Joshua Soto follow him. Looks like Mitchell Peak also not shy. A little bit of a bump between 1st and 2nd there as Camden Hibbett pushes Ronnie Coates along but doesn't want to pass him. It's Joshua Soto looking to make a move. He goes into 2nd, shows a little bit of nose down the inside there, but can't complete a pass or hold it side by side. He gets offline for the exit, and Camden Hibbett looks down the inside of him to try to get that 2nd place back. A minute 10 on the clock. White flag will wave. 1 more lap of Road Atlanta. 2.52 miles. Ronnie Coates leads them into the final lap. Mitchell Peak is getting his elbows out. Look at his movement there. Behind 2nd and 3rd place, Joshua Soto and Camden Hibbett still side by side heading up the hill towards turn 3.
Oh, Mitchell Peak's making the move, trying to hold the outside. When you're outside, you can run a little more speed, and he manages to. He's going to get the better run and switches back to the inside. He clears Camden Hibbett. 3rd place locked up for the Canadian for at least a few more turns.
Pete goes to 3rd, and there's less than a minute left on the clock because we're racing the final lap of Spec-5 World Tour at Road Atlanta. Ronnie Coates with the track position, but only a car length or 2 over Joshua Soto. If Soto's got the fuel, he's in perfect position to slipstream past the leader. Coates will know that, and coming out of turn 7 here, he might also have a couple of games in mind. He runs a little bit wide. He runs more than a little bit wide. He's off into the grass at a critical time on the final lap. Mitchell Peak's 3rd car in the slipstream with his foot all the way to the floor. Now Joshua Soto approaches the rear bumper of Ronnie Coates, doesn't look to push. He looks to push out of line and into the lead of the race. He's got his nose in front. He's almost the whole car clear, heading down in towards turn 10, and he comes across to try to block off Ronnie Coates. They're battling in 2 car packs 3 lanes deep on the way into turn 10A and turn 10B. And there's been a contact, and off the road goes Camden Hibbett. Underneath the bridge, Joshua Soto still leads. Ronnie Coates has got speed, but that checkered flag comes up so quickly out of the final sweeper, and Barney waves the checkered flag for Joshua Soto ahead of Ronnie Coates and Mitchell Peake. Rui Coimbra looks like 4th, Coates 5th. Camden Hibbett will hold on for 6th, but not the win that he was dreaming of at Road Atlanta.
The battle, here's the replay of Hibbett as they go into the final corner. 2 wide through 10A is always tough, and Hibbett ends up facing the wrong way. The battle for 12th isn't done yet, though. Ray Lombardi is holding off Josh Olson, Lee Martin, the open class leader. Lee got it all kinds of wrong, but Olson gets it more wrong as they go into 10A, and Olson's going to give up the spot to Zeus Dalston, who's coming from 3rd place. Going to be running 2nd place as the open class crosses the line. That's Lee Martin winning the open class, Zeus Dalston in 2nd, and Josh Olson finishing 3rd. Andy Cossack, after dropping off the pace, finishes 4th. Must have had some damage on that car in the final laps. Charles Vaccaro 5th, and Brian Schabelsky and Orlando Harrell are going to wrap up what was a stellar race here at Road Atlanta tonight.
Yeah, my oh my, it went back and forth. Different drivers looked like they were in the best position at different times, but Joshua Soto, he was 2nd coming to the white flag. He made that move in the draft down the back straight, and that is just classic Road Atlanta. And from there through the chicane, you can stay ahead, and he takes the win from Ronnie Coates. Mitchell Peake, a little bit of contact with Camden Hibbett on that final lap there. Peake carries on for 3rd. From Rui Coimbra, Michael Coates, Camden Hibbett went for, I think, a full 720 out in the grass. Found some drive, finished 6th place from David Staab in 7th. Michael Chase, Odyssey Adams, Geordie Fike. One day, maybe next season, Devin. Maybe next season.
I'll get it tattooed on my forehead so you can read it next time. How about that?
Depending on how your camera is configured, you might need to get it tattooed, mirrored. I'm not sure what webcam settings you're running with there. Eugenio Polici got 11th, Ray Lombardi 12th. You see Lee Martin coming away with the open class win in 13th. And what a battle pack was happening back there as well. I think everyone got their Road Atlanta money's worth. Sean Hayes 14th, Tom Sanders, Zeus Dalston, Josh Olson. Great little open class pack there with Andy Cossack, Charles Vaccaro as well. Brian Schabelsky, Orlando Harrell. The last cars that finished, Daniel Williams, another big what could have been. He looked like he had an immense amount of pace around this track. Brett Marshall and Ian Giebler both retiring with damage.
Yeah. Wow. I'm still catching my breath after that one. That was a hell of a show and a lot of fun from the racing there. I'm seeing one of our winners, not our open class winner just yet, though.
Did you want to get to our open class winner first?
I was hoping so. I'm also curious. We'll see what we get.
I think I can grab him. We're looking for Lee Martin, right?
Yeah, Lee Martin, open class winner. We'll drag him from his chat. Lee, hell of a show you put on for us tonight. It looked like that battle for 11th place and 12th place never really slowed down for you.
It did not. That was 45 minutes of intensity, man. That was incredible. Great racing by everybody there.
Yeah, and you had. It looks like. Is this your best finish of the season in the open class? I'm trying to filter through the points.
Second win, I think, of the season, and I'm lucky in both cases.
If it keeps happening, you can't call it luck. Looked like for a minute there you were going to have a bit of a battle with Josh Olson, but then things got kind of funky in the last few laps there.
Yeah, it was really interesting. I was the strategy for today was try not to get into trouble, try to stay clear of all the drama. And unfortunately, when you got a bunch of open cars and pro cars all mixing it up, all for position, it gets a little exciting. I'll tell you that. But I think it ended up being a little bit of a fuel game at the end too.
Yeah, did it go a lap longer than you were expecting?
Fortunately, I gambled on 29 laps. I'm not sure everybody did.
Well, it was the right call after all. Quality race and a quality win to add to the belt there.
Appreciate it. It certainly was a scary one after not getting home in time to make all the qualifying. So got, like I said, a little bit lucky to make it up for it, but sometimes better to be lucky than good.
Cheers.
Thanks, guys. Have a great one.
My dad says that, better to be lucky than good. And the other thing he taught me is, if you're not going to be good, be careful. He used to say, don't leave too much evidence. We'll see if we can get to our race winner then. I've clicked in the wrong damn place. Help me, Devin.
Oh, okay. I'll drag our race winner in, Josh Soto, so you can talk to him.
Congratulations, Josh. Went back and forth with almost like 10 people who could have maybe grabbed the win there, but you're in the right place at the right time.
Oh yeah, there's a ton of cars at the end of the race there. I already knew it was going to be like a dogfight at the end.
Now, as we were watching pit lane, I think we saw one car that was part of the initial sort of 10-car lead pack pit and go up on the jacks and mayhaps take tyres. That really shocked and surprised us, and it's not something that you followed on and did either.
Oh yeah. Taking tires here is very risky, especially with the new update. I learned my lesson with taking tires earlier in the season with a couple spins, but definitely. I definitely am not going to take any more tires this season.
Especially not in these super cold conditions. Did you feel like a long tire warm up phase in qualifying and at the start of the race?
Oh yeah. It was very slippery, especially with the cold temps. And Road Atlanta, just in general, is just a very tricky track on cold tires, especially with like the curbs and. So yeah, it was very tricky. The first 2 or so laps, but after that, it was pretty much smooth sailing.
And you had a couple of sparring partners at different points through the race. Daniel Williams didn't end up finishing this race, but he looked scarily quick at times.
Oh yeah, Daniel Williams is extremely quick. Yeah, I was pretty much just trying to get the most lead laps. So, but yeah, I could definitely tell that his pace was pretty quick in these cars. I think he started from back in the grid, so I was really surprised when I looked back and I seen him up that far.
So, in your estimation, from where you were sitting, is he are your winning days over if he can finish a clean race, or did he show just a little bit too much too early?
I wouldn't say winning days would be over, but I would say that he's pretty competitive. I raced with him a few times prior, and yeah, it would just be like a learning curve, but I'm pretty sure I could adjust to his driving style.
All right, well, congratulations once again. Another win for yourself. Congrats.
All right, thank you.
There we have it. Race winner Joshua Soto with us. Also spoke to our open class winner Lee Martin. A lot happens in the dark at Road Atlanta, apparently 45 minutes, and it was super close racing all the way through. Some strategy intrigue towards the end there. At the end, well, Camden Hibbert, he looked set for 3 wins in a row. It didn't pan out that way. Joshua Soto taking the win, and as you see, once again, another look at the results. Lee Martin, relatively convincing open class win in the end, but you got to be in the right place at the right time for luck to shine on you. Congrats to both of our winners, and there's just a couple of races left in Spec-5 World Tour. You'll see them all here on HJBC, so wherever you're watching, make sure you do subscribe so you can catch all of it. We'll also have the Champ Car iRacing Series, 4.5 hours of Laguna Seca coming up this weekend, Saturday. It's at 2 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Eastern. You'll see it here on our channels as well. Do make sure you tune in for that one, where there's some big prizes on offer in an endurance race style with these very same cars. I've been David Haynes, Devin Peters, Michael Derby with our production and all of our replays. We'll see you on Saturday for Champ Car iRacing Series and next week for Spec-5 World Tour.